As it stands right now, it feels like the Cowboys wide receiver room is pretty stacked, especially at the top. Ceedee Lamb, who is a top 10 wide receiver in my opinion, Brandin Cooks, who is a walking 1,000 yards every year, and then Michael Gallup, more than a year and a half removed from his ACL injury. After those three, there are a number of guys you would like to step up and be a factor this coming season. Jalen Tolbert, Kavonte Turpin, Simi Fehoko, Jalen Brooks, who was a late round pick this year, and Dennis Houston. But there's one name that I left off this list on purpose, and you probably didn't even notice because he was an undrafted free agent in this year's class, and the Cowboys picked him up right after the draft concluded. His name is Jalen Cropper from Fresno State. He's 5'11", weighing 172 pounds, and runs a 4.4 40-yard dash. According to DraftKings, Cropper was a top 12 prospect in the undrafted free agency pool of players. He was DraftKings' 161st ranked player in the entire draft class, which should have got him drafted, but unfortunately did not. Now, I know that we've talked about a few undrafted players on this channel, and trust me when I tell you that I am not trying to convince you that the NFL missed on the next great player and the Cowboys picked him up. I just want to share with you how they are as a player, some strengths, some weaknesses, and give you a full rundown on why I think that this player can make the Cowboys 53-man roster in September. So, here is my breakdown on Jalen Cropper. Coming out of high school, Cropper was a 4-star recruit that had offers from a number of big-time schools like Utah, Oregon, Cal, Nebraska, and Boise State. But in the end, he chose Fresno State to stay closer to home. He wanted to be somewhere that gave him an opportunity to play in front of his family. To start his college career in 2019, he was a dual threat, running and catching the ball. But by 2020, he had made the full-time switch to receiver and was the Bulldogs' leading pass catcher with 37 receptions, 520 receiving yards, and 5 scores in just 6 games played. In 2021, he beat his previous year with 85 catches for 899 yards and 11 touchdowns. And then in 2022, he would top 1,000 receiving yards on 83 catches with 5 touchdowns in 14 starts. According to NFL.com, Cropper's production score landed him among the top 20 wide receivers at the NFL Combine. His athleticism rating wasn't too shabby either, running a 4.4 40-yard dash with a 10'1" broad jump. And honestly, all of these metrics scream a player that should have been selected in the back half of the draft, somewhere in the 5th or 6th round. And while watching his tape, I couldn't help but think the same thing. The first thing I noticed is the dude is fast. When he gets into open space, you hardly ever see anyone track him down. He's quick, elusive, and a demon to bring down after the catch. Something I think the Cowboys coaching staff is really going to like in Mike McCarthy's West Coast system. If you can get Cropper the ball on the move, he's a handful to bring down after the catch. Something else I noticed was his ability to track the ball down the field. A lot of times you see young receivers struggle to find the ball and make a play over their shoulder, but Cropper has no problem doing so. He did it on multiple occasions at Fresno State. The last thing I want to mention is his ability to play all over the field. Fresno State played him inside at slot, he played the X receiver, he played all across the formation. Wherever they asked him to line up, he was going to beat his guy, and I think that's going to be real important to Mike McCarthy and this offensive coaching staff, especially when you have other receivers like Brandin Cooks and Ceedee Lamb, 2 receivers we've seen moved around a lot. I think Cropper would fit right in. Although I have spent a majority of this video praising the player, there's usually a few flaws in their game that cause them to slip through the draft process. So I feel like we need to talk about those. For starters, let's look at the frame. NFL.com has Cropper at 5'11", 172 pounds. Not a very big guy, and you can see it on the field. He has a very slim build, and you wonder what he would look like against physically imposing NFL corners on the outside. Although I think you can move him around to different wide receiver spots, some people might look at that size and say that he's a slot-only guy. Another downside to his game is the lack of contested catches. He rarely puts himself in position to go up and really fight for the ball down the field. This could lead to coaches questioning his tenacity at 50-50 balls. And the last con on him as a player player is the lack of deep playability despite the 4.4 40-yard dash. Although he did show good ability after the catch and with the ball in his hands, along with the 40 time, his downfield game is going to need some refinement at the pro level. So I have to ask, do you like Jalen Marino Cropper? Are you going to be rooting for him to make the 53-man roster when it comes down to it in September? I hope this quick video was enough to tell you about the player, some good and some bad. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I love you all. Bye.